Okay, we can call the meeting to order.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to approve the minutes, joint session minutes first.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 20th, 2017 joint session minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we can make a motion to approve the April 20th, 2017 Planning Commission minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 20th, 2017 Planning Commission meeting minutes.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Aye.
Have to have a second.
Oh, sorry. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Then item number 4.
Yes, thank you. On your agenda tonight is various applications from Hartman Communities for rezoning from agricultural to R2, a planned residential district, as well as a preliminary plat for a development consisting of single-family lots and various outlots and right-of-way. The property is shown on the screen. It's a little tough to see with the blue outline, but it's contiguous to the city. It is generally located west of County Road 11 and north of Dahlgren Road. The property does need to be annexed to the city. The council had approved the annexation resolution at their meeting this past Monday night, and that's being forwarded to the state for processing at this time. The preliminary plat has sort of 3 general areas of and types of homes to be constructed on it. On the west side, which is the bottom, the way that the plat is laying, north is to the left. On the west side of the plat is some 65-foot lots, and then that extends all the way to the south side as well. Kind of in the northeastern area, you'll see a number of 50-foot detached villa lots that are, that size is similar to what you looked at last month with the Trinity plat. And then in the southeast corner of the plat is some 40-foot wide lots, which is something that we haven't had here yet. So we'll talk about those a little more in a little bit. There's 2 collector roads running through the development, an extension of Hartwell Drive, which is the one that goes past the Park and Ride and Carver Crossing on a north-south alignment, continues into this plat. And then that tees at an intersection with a new collector road that's sort of an extension of White Pine Way from the other side of 11, coming straight across, which then would connect through and serve the Bruce Finkel property to the west. There's also a connection shown down to Dahlgren Road. You can see that that connection doesn't quite touch Dahlgren Road all the way, and the developer's looking at trying to figure out whether that's probably the best location from a construction standpoint for that road to go through, but there's also an option to make a road instead on the western side where they do touch Dahlgren Road. So that's an item that'll be sorted out between now and when this goes to City Council. The outlot that's kind of large in the southeast corner of the plat does have some amount of topography to it and sort of a maybe an intermittent creek bed that runs through it, along with some bluff areas and some trees that they're trying to preserve that are of more of a quality type of nature on the site. That outlot is currently proposed to be owned by the city, and the developer's looking at trying to take the trail that's shown adjacent to County Road 11 and wind it through that outlot instead. Since we already have a trail paralleling 11 on the east side of 11. I think I'm going to, at this point, turn it over to Terry Hartman with Hartman Communities and with the folks from Central Homes, and they can talk about the product that they want to propose for this site, because I know you'll have all kinds of questions about the products themselves, and then we can get back into any other details that you want to talk about. Terry?
Hello, Terry Hartman with Hartman Communities, 1750 Tower Boulevard in Victoria. Centra Homes is our builder partner on the project, and they're here as well. Any specific questions for their homes or their floor plans, I'm going to defer to David, but as far as the development goes, I'm not sure if you were all on the Planning Commission when the sketch plat came before you, but what you hopefully are seeing is something that's quite familiar. 235 lots on the sketch plat, 231 lots on this preliminary plat. And once again, what we did with the layout and the lot sizes and the ultimate density was hopefully a reflection of your underlying comp plan. It's the concept plan was our vision, or our kind of application of your vision for the comprehensive plan. Now the preliminary plat has the builder input on it, kind of telling us what is the market demand in Carver. And in the first concept sketch, we had single-family homes, and we had two different versions of attached townhomes. Again, matching your underlying zoning, which was medium density on about a third of the property, I believe, and 2/3 of the property was single-family. Generally or conventionally, medium density prescribes an attached product. And today what's innovative in the market is a detached townhome project, which is kind of a hybrid between a single family and an attached home. The benefits that come from a smaller home and a smaller lot and a lower maintenance choice, but it also comes with the benefit of a private backyard space or a side yard space or front yard space. So you get a little bit of both from that offering. Everything seems to be more specialized today, and both of these smaller lot villa products have quite specific market demand for them. I think most of us are familiar with the kind of emerging age bracket of the empty nesters. 80 units are part of the, will appeal to the target market of the empty nester retiree, and 40 of the units that are a little bit smaller will appeal to first-time home buyers or the small family or more of a compact family, or even single parent families. And that's a two-story product, a little bit narrower, but again, very specific lifestyle targeted product line for that. As Cindy said, in the center of the property, we have a really rich environmental resource that we worked around with the ravine and the creek and the heavily wooded bluffs, working around that, and the staff has suggested some good ideas for trying to work that trail through there so it becomes more of a user-friendly park space and not just an area that we worked around because it was sensitive environmentally. But certainly that's the reason for most of the conservation for that area. We connect well with the new school. We're excited about being a part of that development and connecting well with the transit station. Certainly the freeway is a big component of what we see as the success of this piece of property. We're just real excited about the opportunity here and all the things that are going on this, in and around this project. So, here to answer any other questions you might have. If you don't, I could have the builder demonstrate their floor plans. I think they've got a short slideshow of the floor plans that they're proposing, and I could have them. David, if you'd like to take the group through that. Sure.
Great, thank you.
My name is David Patberg with Centra Homes. Dale is also here with me tonight to talk about our enthusiasm about being in Carver again. We finished building out, we're close to finished building out Lylewood Glen. All the homes are sold there, and it's been a successful subdivision. It ended very well for us, and we really liked this market. And so when we were talking to Terry about his project in town, we kind of tried to take what we learned from Lylewood Glen and apply it to what we're looking at here. And what that means is in Lylewood we had some single-level townhome attached product and some two-story stuff. And we found that the single-level was highly desirable, and we were selling 2-to-1, and so that's kind of what we talked to Terry about doing here. For a handful of reasons, a detached product is much more desirable. It allows us to get buyers in there that are in all aspects. We're looking to do the yards and the driveways be association maintained, and so it attracts people that are looking for a small yard with no maintenance. And so what I've sent over to the city is some products. So this house here, it would fit on the larger lots. It's a 50-foot wide product, a 50-foot wide house that would fit on the 65-foot wide lots. More traditional of what you see. We just sent over a couple plans that we have that show there'll be 3-car wide, a couple elevations and interior shots. It allows for square footages from. We'll end up offering maybe a Rambler or two in this product line on the larger lots. And so our square footage might go from 1,700 or 1,800 square feet up to 3,000 square feet on that 65-foot wide lot neighborhood. A little more traditional of what you see out there and happening. Cindy, can you go to the next one? So this one and the next picture will be in regards to the 40-foot wide house on the 50-foot wide lot. These were our Rambler plans, where some of them will have basements, some of them won't. Well, in this 50-foot lots, there'll be a variety of basements or not basements to give buyers options and selections. A single-level living, so it'll be a neighborhood of Rambler plans, and a variety of floor plans, a variety of square footages, probably ranging from as small as 1,400 or 1,500 square feet up to 2,000, maybe 2,200 square feet. And again, that buyers, I think most people understand that those buyers are looking for a single-level living option that's out there, and we're seeing that a little more regularly. The 40-foot lots, this is just one elevation that we were able to get to look nice. We're developing these 30-foot plans, and we'll have maybe 3, 4, or 5 plans available in this narrowest product. And this just gives you an example of what it'll be. They'll all be 2-story product. Their square footages will range, and again, many of them will have basements. As we get into the details of the grading plan, we'll determine whether or not there'll be any slab-on-grade product in this. It's a little early to make that final determination. But this product is really geared towards a buyer that would buy an attached home. And we just looking to step it up just a little bit above an attached home. The homes will have 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, be available for either a young family just newly starting out, or we find that sometimes young professionals come in here that they're looking for a nice livable space, don't want the yard maintenance, or even some single parent families that need the space for kids but don't want to necessarily take care of the yards. So it appeals to a variety of buyers. We've built very similar product to this in the city of New Hope. We're almost done there. And then we finished up a subdivision in the city of Blaine. We always try to learn from what we do when we build houses. And if you go to New Hope, the product there is 26 feet wide, and we're proposing 30 feet wide. That extra 4 feet gives us a lot of flexibility and width of how the floor plan works, of how the house lives. But if you want to see something, a 26-foot wide product will give you an idea and a feel of what the neighborhood will look and feel like. And just adding a few feet in width will give us a lot of flexibility to improve the plan based on buyer input. So that walks you through the three different lot types and house types, and then open for questions.
I just have a question. So on the lots that were 26, these are the New Hope houses, the 26 wide. So what was the lot size?
Those, I would have to pull my data to make sure. I think they were 40 foot, 40.
Okay, so the same, we believe
Same-
to be
same
the
size
same
lots,
lot size?
yes.
Okay. And how many, the 40-foot lots with the 30-foot wide homes, is that a third of our number that we're looking at? Or not?
I'd have to count to make sure. I feel like it was like 45 lots that are 40 feet wide.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
45 of 230.
Okay. Okay. Of 231, about 45.
I think
Is what you're saying?
it's
Okay.
45.
Curious.
So one of the typical questions is, your market is first-time home buyers and empty nesters. What's your price points typically for these?
The 40-foot lots, that we are expecting and hoping to be in the upper twos, to be able to start under 3. As some of the conversations with the development and cost and things of that sort, that will work itself out. But that's kind of what we're looking for. And then the 50-foot lots would be just over 3. That give you a rough idea.
And what are you thinking as far as how long will it take you to sell out this particular site?
As fast as we can. Our expectation is each product, we would like, our hope and vision and goal is to be able to start all 3 products at the same time. And so to do a phase that brings on a few lots in each neighborhood. Dale, what did we finish in Lylewood Glen? What was our average sales pace? Do you remember? We were doing about 3 a month. As we finished Lylewood Glen, we finished at about 3 a month. We feel there we really built the momentum to finish it out. I don't know if we'll quite get 3 per month per product in this neighborhood, but we would really like to shoot for 1.5 to 2 per month per product. So if you kind of then do the math, that gives you an idea of the narrow stuff, maybe 2 years, the 50-foot lots, maybe 3 years, and the larger lots with the 100 lots, it might take 3+ years to do that.
With the properties that you currently have developed, with these smaller homes are kind of geared towards the first-time home buyer, have you had a lot of these turn into rental properties that you're aware of?
In New Hope, we know we have not. In Blaine, we don't see it. It's a little bit hard for us to tell.
Right.
But in talking with our sales agent, they're not typically seeing investors purchase these as investments for rentals. The investors are still seeing a lot of opportunities in the resale market. And so our sales agents haven't seen that.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I just have one clarifying question. The picture that you showed with the house, the one sample of the house,
The
on the narrow, right, on the 40-foot lot, so that's not a detached, so the villas, this is not considered a villa, right? With the detached garage. But the lots are the same, right?
So often in the home building, when people hear the word villa, they think single level detached. That's what they think. And so I'm hesitant to use that term on these. The 40-foot lots, all of those homes will be 2-story, just to get a little bit more square footage. And so the 40-foot lots will be 2-story, the 50-foot lots will be single level. So it's just however you define villa.
But we do have a definitive area for villas, right, on here.
Correct, the northeastern side of the plat, sort of the area both east and west of the extension of Hartwell Drive, as well as north of that extension, I'm going to call it, of White Pine Way. That's the area where all the 50-foot villa lots are. And then this, it's kind of hard to see the mouse here, but this one cul-de-sac that's kind of long that comes down here in the southeast side is where all of the 40-foot lots are.
Oh, there we go.
Our vision is to try to have separate, in a sense, separate neighborhoods, a neighborhood of 40-foot lots, a neighborhood of 50-foot lots, and a neighborhood of 65-foot wide lots.
Okay, and part of that is the, like, homeowner association component to the villas, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yep.
For clarification, though, I think I've heard before that the 40-foot wide lots would also be association maintained.
Yes. Yes.
So you would have multiple associations, you think?
We think we would need to. There gets to be confusion. I mean, legally, we probably wouldn't have to, but there is some identity that's associated with the association. And so we found it's better to have an association of similar housing product because you get a similar type of buyer in there, and it makes some logical sense. So that's what we're leaning towards. But legally, they could be one association. It makes managerial sense to sometimes have it be two, separated by the type of product.
Any other questions? Nope. I think we're good.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, anything else on your end?
Yes, I just wanted to walk you through a couple of the larger comments, if you will, that came out during the staff review. So in both of the villa product, well, the 50-foot lot and the 40-foot lot areas, there were some of these smaller private drives sort of mixed in with what was originally proposed to be public streets. So we've requested, and I believe that they've agreed, that those public streets in those areas, when this keeps going on, would become private streets. So some future iteration of this, you would actually see those be outlots instead, similar to how these parts are in here. And that just gives it more consistency throughout those sections of the neighborhoods to do it that way. In your packets, you also saw that you had copies of preliminary comments from the Carver County Watershed Management Organization, and there has been some ongoing concern with drainage from developments in just sort of generally this area, going to the south and to Dahlgren Road, and there was some comments related to that in the CCWMO's letter. One of the things that we are working on in order to mitigate that issue is to bring the water that's coming off this plat and take it, instead of letting it go to the south and west, taking it to the south and east. The city, as part of the Carver Dental project last year, constructed a stormwater trunk main sort of in this location. So we would have them tie their stormwater, not all of it, but as much as we can get into it in that location. And then that will keep draining on to the south. The city then has some improvements noted in its comprehensive surface water management plan that need to be completed to the south of the fire station in order for it to accept this drainage coming in this location. So that's something that we're working on and we'll sort through as this plat progresses. Another item you'll see in your comments is a comment letter from Carver County Engineering. Because the plat adjoins Carver County Road 11, we have to send all plats to the county for review and their approval before we continue on with them. They've provided some comments and we'll be coordinating between the developer and the county and sort through what those comments, how those might be addressed. I think that's it that I have for right now, unless you have any other questions.
So at this time, we can open it up for a public hearing. Anybody out there that wants to come visit up front?
Nice try, though.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, and then we need you to state your name and address.
All right, I'm Bruce Finkel. I would own the property to the west, okay?
Okay.
I have no issues with this plan. I like the concept. I think it's a lot of diversity that brings different housing units to the city. My question is to the south, on Dahlgren Road, where the outlet onto Dahlgren would be. And then as that traffic comes off onto Dahlgren and heads east to Jonathan Carver Parkway, if anybody has tried to cross that intersection at this point, any time in the morning with gravel trucks, you can wait up to 20 minutes to get onto Jonathan Carver Parkway. So you're going to add these homes. You've got the daycare and the dental office to the south with potentially more. You have a huge hill coming from the south with a lot of gravel trucks. So it's very easy for a gravel truck to come down that hill, and let's say there's a stoplight there. The light turns yellow. Can't stop my truck. I'm going through that light. So a stoplight is not an answer at that intersection. It's a great place for a roundabout. So safety for all these people and all the clients coming out of the dental park, that intersection needs to be addressed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add a little information for you related to that?
That'd be great.
So Bruce made some great points, and the city is also concerned about traffic generally on County Road 11. And at their meeting, actually on Monday night, the city council approved an agreement with Carver County to do a joint corridor study of the whole corridor from, I think it's from Levi Griffin Road all the way down to where 40 and 11 split off, and one heads to Jordan, the other heads to Belle Plaine. And as part of that corridor study, they will be looking at all of those safety concerns that exist on the roadway, what the future profile of the road looks like, et cetera, et cetera. So that study is starting imminently, and I'm not sure when that's anticipated to be. About a year-long study, it sounds like. So we'll have some great information that comes out of that in terms of what improvements long-range are needed to County Road 11 that'll help address some of those concerns that Bruce mentions. The development did do, as part of their submittal requirements, a traffic impact analysis, and most of the traffic, based on that analysis, is going to not use Dahlgren Road and go out a different way, whether it's Ironwood Drive or the extension of White Pine Way. They both also have their own concerns, I guess. Ironwood Drive is a signalized intersection, of course, so you'll have to wait for the light to turn. And there could be some stacking of folks in the morning, particularly at that intersection, waiting to get out at the controlled intersection. And White Pine Way right now is proposed to be uncontrolled at this time. And by uncontrolled, I mean just a stop sign like it is today.
Cindy, as far as that corridor study, how wide is that corridor that they're actually looking at? So in our case, Dahlgren Road would be our primary concern. When you saw that, how far out did it expand? Is it all the feeder roads?
It's the intersections and how, so it doesn't go like really far to the east or west of any given road on County Road 11, but it'll look at the intersections. So items like, should it be a stoplight or a roundabout or something else, along with the various turning movements that would be needed. And I'm going to presume then there'd be some at least preliminary information on how wide the very close parts of each of those intersections would need to be to accommodate that, whatever turning movements are needed. It probably does not extend, further east or west.
And what was the name of the organization that will be heading that up? that study?
It's a joint project between the city and Carver County. And
Okay.
WSB is going to be the consultant on that.
WSB, okay.
So, this will sound naive, but when you do a traffic study like that, does it take into consideration the use? Like all these heavy gravel trucks that are going? I mean, is that part of the understanding? Not just cars?
They don't, it's more based on volume and how many cars are turning in what directions than it is type of cars. There's some consideration for,
Uniqueness of the traffic?
yeah, a little bit. It's, the traffic study for both this as well as Carver Dental, when that came out last year, and this would be consistent with what Mr. Finkel described, indicate that that left-hand turning movement on Dahlgren Road is failing today, in that AM peak hour period. And obviously, if it's failing today without any improvements, it'll still be failing.
Right.
After both Carver Square and this development go in, so.
One of my concerns, and I'd echo Mr. Finkel's concern, looking at the traffic analysis study that the developer submitted, looks like the Dahlgren Road connection, it may not be a permanent connection, but potentially used as a construction access or site access when they're building. And maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. But when that development is being developed, that it would be a construction point of access, the fact it's off the main road. I guess, can you address that? If that's, would it be used as a construction access?
If your question is it permanent? That it is planned to be a permanent, one of the access points. So one touchdown point on Dahlgren Road, one on County Road 11, and then the Hartwell access as well as the, I don't even know the name, Edgebrook. So it is a permanent access onto Dahlgren Road.
And that would be from the get-go. It would be a permanent. Would it be full access?
Well, there'll be a phasing plan done for the project. We will not mass grade the entire project at one time. I believe there's somewhere between 4 and 5 different phases. The Dahlgren Road connection is not intended to be made until I believe the 3rd or 4th phase.
Okay.
So the major intersection for us is the County Road 11, White Pine Way. That one will be a part of the first phase as well as the connection to Hartwell. Dahlgren Road comes a little bit later. It wasn't intended to be a construction-only traffic access. It's kind of part of the mix of all of the access points that are needed.
Okay, thank you for the clarification on that. Cindy, as far as the city is concerned, if that connection is made, Dahlgren Road it has and will continue to be a topic of discussion between both the township officially as well as the city. If a connection is made, have we started to think about at what point Dahlgren Township Road ends, or excuse me, Dahlgren Township authority per se ends on that road and the city of Carver picks up? Because to me, that's an item from a township perspective that we higher traffic coming from a city-controlled road onto a township road. It's definitely something that we will have to consider.
Understood. The terms of the orderly annexation agreement between the city and the township specify that as properties adjacent to Dahlgren Road are annexed, rather than going, say, to the center line of the road, which would be fairly typical in most stretches of area, that we would then take over, that full, all the way across in those sections. In this case, the city technically already has the portion from about where my pointer is, approximately, to the east because of the annexation of the Carver Square project last year.
Correct.
And then with the annexation of this parcel, despite that their deed goes to the middle of the road here, the city would have you know, the other part of it as a maintenance obligation as well. So there is, as you note, there is a gap in space between those two segments, and that's something that I think is probably not best discussed.
Correct.
But I would encourage the township to contact the city manager if you'd like to have more discussions about that.
Thank you.
Cindy, I have a question. In seeing what's in the traffic impact analysis from March 2017, when, I mean, I think what a lot of us are understanding too and realize, you know, when they say that, you know, the study that intersection will degrade to unacceptable, but yet it's not likely until maybe 2021. Can the city do anything on that Dahlgreen Road that we're talking, or that access to Dahlgreen Road, and not allow that development to access Dahlgreen from there until after the county does the possible work on 11, even if it is a few years out?
That would be challenging to do. As Mr. Hartman stated earlier, they are planning to phase the development, and they're not planning for the connection to Dahlgren Road to happen until a later phase in the development, so that will stall it out some amount of that time. But as they, whatever pace that they're on in terms of their build-out will kind of dictate how fast they come in with those phases of the final plat. And so when it's sort of that time, then we'll have to be looking at bringing that connection down. Keep in mind that that phase won't come in until after the city has done that corridor study, so we'll have a lot better information on what needs to occur in that area.
And I understand if you can't answer this, but what they find in that study, then we're looking at a year out. Do we have an idea of the timeline on when
Any
that does
work will be
become a
done?
roundabout, or?
Well,
Just because, I mean, ideally, it'd be nice to be able to do these things in a certain order and to have that infrastructure there before allowing all this extra traffic, ideally.
I can't speak for the timing. I can say that work on County Road 11 from 212 down to Dahlgren Road is included in the Carver County Capital Improvement Program from 2017 to 2022, and it's probably programmed in the 2021 to 2022 timeframe of that CIP. Ultimately, the work that would be done would likely, based on past practice and experience, be done as part of a joint project involving both the city and the county. And despite that it's in the CIP for a certain year, depending on traffic demand, things do shift, they move up, they move back. So I can appreciate that it'd be desirable to have things in place beforehand. But in this case, it's really important that the city and the county take that step back and do that corridor study and really figure out what we all want that whole corridor to look like for the longer term, before all those investments are made.
When do we expect the ground to be broken for this year, or? You know, I heard Mr. Nichols, that you were suggesting a roundabout? Yeah. I'm guessing that with the projects that are already in place, when this one starts, there's not enough room for a roundabout. I mean, potentially we're gonna have a traffic study that's gonna be done a year from now, and we'll have already precluded many of the options.
Well, certainly 3 corners of that intersection are already developed. The southeast corner, of course, the city owns as part of Community Park. The city also happens to own the northwest corner of this intersection and the parcel that's here. This, the property that we're discussing doesn't come all the way down to Dahlgren Road, so the city owns acquired this as part of the Carver Square development. So we have some more flexibility, I would say, in this location than we typically would have.
We have any idea how much land is required for a roundabout, especially on a road that's 50 miles an hour?
You know, it totally depends on the design and the traffic capacity that they're trying to get through there. So that's the purpose of the corridor study, is to figure out what fits best and meets the traffic need, the safety need, what can fit in certain spaces, what can be done cost efficiently, et cetera, et cetera.
Any further questions?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, let's see here. So we can move to making a motion to recommend the approval of the rezoning from agriculture to R2.
I guess before we move
You
to
wanna
that,
talk
yeah,
more?
just
Sure,
one
sure.
more item. Just a consideration from Dahlgren Township for the board, the commission to know is exactly what the county's concern, and it's the water. The neighbors down on the southern part of this, as you look at the plat, it would be the water. And it sounds like the county and the city, they're working together on that. But it is a legitimate concern from the Dahlgren Township residents that live below that area. With the current development that's going up top, there's a lot of water coming down. Add another development with a lot of hardball, more water is going to be coming down. So it's definitely a legitimate concern, and wanted to make sure that you guys knew that from our perspective, from the community's perspective, down there along Dahlgren Township Road.
Cindy, do you want to speak to that any further? The water component of the, from a drainage standpoint?
Sure, I can attempt to. So that is something that we've been having ongoing discussions with the township and the county about preceding even this plat coming forward. So it has been a topic of discussion for some time now. The hope is that by rerouting the drainage to the southeast, that we can eliminate some portion that's currently heading in the direction of Dahlgren Road and sort of reshuffle that around a different way, as well as make sure that as much of this development as we can goes in a different direction and doesn't impact Dahlgren Road as well. So everyone knows that that's an issue, and we're doing what we can to make, their engineers are working on redesigning some of the ponds and looking at some of that piping and where that goes to try to accommodate that as much as can be done. There may still be some portion of this project, particularly towards the southwest, that might still go that way. But we have room here for some ponding as well, which will hopefully then not let the water just sheet flow onto Dahlgren Road and hold that back as well. And maybe, Terry, if you have anything else that you can add to that.
It's probably one of the most challenging parts of the engineering for the site is the runoff, and not just necessarily because of the existing conditions with the runoff and the drainage down Dahlgren Road, but also just in the regulatory environment that we live in. Heavily regulated. Your comp plan that you approved the last time had a stormwater management plan approved with the county, and severe restriction was put on this particular piece of property in terms of not just the rate, but the volume of runoff on it. So a good component that you're not looking at right here is the drainage and grading plan that has all of the prescriptions that we're using for stormwater management, best management practices. We were lucky to find in that southwest corner a large component of sand. It made sense to us that it was there. Mueller's gravel pit's been mining it for dozens of years. It's there. We found it, and it adds really an important component, which is to use that for an infiltration basin. So we will extract some of the water in that infiltration basin. We're also looking at a reuse component, so there's an irrigation system, possibly the irrigation system that's used for the homeowners association. We'll extract some of that runoff as well, but most of it is held, it's treated, and slowly discharged from the site in a much more controlled manner than the existing condition. Right now, the rain comes no matter what size of an rain event it is, and it flushes right through as fast as it can and takes with it the farmland that's exposed to it. Much more controlled environment when we're done with the engineering and we've worked through with the county and the watershed management folks, as well as the engineering folks with Carver County. So there'll be a big focus yet between now and the final construction plans to please everybody, as well as the neighborhood itself. So quite a bit of work yet to be done, but it's a big component of what we're moving forward with. Big improvement over what we know to be an existing condition problem.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Hartman, and to the city, looking through the motion here, you guys moving forward to potentially approve this preliminary plat, we appreciate those items are addressed, speaking exactly what Mr. Hartman said, the multiple responsibilities on the developer to work with the city, with the county, and multiple government agencies to ensure that that water, stormwater, and sanitary water is a part of that plan. So thank you for specifying that in your motion.
I just have one comment. Could there be any consideration to reduce the number of lots to open up some space, or do we have to have this particular density of 230 some units to be in compliance with the zoning? Just, it's not something you really have to answer, it just something as a possible consideration.
I would rather defer that to Mr. Hartman.
I think that the design was pretty carefully matched to the number of units that we're proposing. Again, the number of units we're proposing is right in the middle of what your comp plan guided this property for. And the engineers and the designers of stormwater management really know how to work with that amount of impervious surface and get the ponding correct. I don't know that reducing the number of units would dramatically change. There's a solution for the number of units, and we will be able to control that runoff. It doesn't necessarily add that much more hard surface as you add units, because you still have a factor of development on the whole site, if that makes any sense.
No, it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. We need to speak into the microphone. I was just talking about the property in general.
Okay.
Like, could there just be adjustments to open up some space, reduce the number of units to open up some space for some additional bonding? That's just general comment.
I would think it would be nice if there was a little additional space just at this north, actually, I don't quite, it's not north, but it's your villas in like 15 and 16, right at the Dahlgreen 11 intersection, to give more room for whatever ends up being an intersection. Maybe it does end up being a stoplight instead of a roundabout, but just so that there's more options.
I don't disagree with that. The problem is the timelines don't match up. We're going to have to tell them that they have to wait a year, potentially.
I don't think wait for the whole project, wait for that area, those lots.
Right, but we need a study first to give us factual information back. And then, once we, factual information, if it impacts this, then do we have options?
It's a little difficult. Once a preliminary plat is approved, the developer does have rights under law related to that preliminary plat. So it would be, it's not impossible to go back and negotiate something different, but they would have rights to be developing, to be submitting plats for a final plat that would be consistent with the preliminary plat that's shown. The county, in their comments, I'll just point out, hasn't brought this up as a concern. So they have brought up some things they'd like to see at the White Pine Way 11 intersection, but they have not keyed in or identified anything that they would like to see done with the Dahlgren Road intersection.
Can you share what other things that they'd like to see done, or, and I understand if you can't share, if it's just way too early.
At the White Pine Way, it's in your packet. Generally speaking, at the White Pine Way intersection, it's related to some turn lane improvements.
Okay.
There is timelines for approval of the plat, right?
Correct.
So what would be the timeline?
Typically,
Well, what is it specifically for this one? How soon does this plat have to be approved?
well, that's what I'm going to tell you typically first. So typically, we would have 60 days from when an application's submitted, and then we could have an additional 60 days without the developer giving us an extension on their own. In this case, the property's not annexed to the city yet, so the clock isn't ticking. So I can't, that's why I can't give you the date.
Sure. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I think as one of our conditions, we need to continue the dialogue with county traffic engineers. We were required to do a traffic impact analysis as well as the dental and the daycare development as well. Luckily, we both worked with the same consultant that did our work as did theirs. And the county hasn't fully finalized and came together on those two separate studies. And I think there's a pretty good condition built in that Cindy's got that says that that dialogue needs to continue and finish itself out. And that group is specifically charged with looking at those intersections and making sure that there's enough room for what's needed today and what's needed, kind of what's prescribed in that traffic impact analysis. So I'm quite certain that the analysis will get done as a part of the normal consequence of this project before it gets to the final. Just also from a layperson standpoint, or semi-experienced traffic engineer, there's a lot of land there that looks like there's room for some improvements, be it a roundabout or a controlled intersection or whatever other technique that they would like to use. It appears that there's adequate amount to expand the facilities, but it's exactly what the traffic impact analysis that we put together that will flush out, and there'll be time to have further dialogue with the county as a normal consequence of this project, not necessarily having to wait for the big, long corridor study to get done. And we'll commit to giving that time for those two parties or three parties to get together. And if it means there's I think you've got the terminology, if there's a change or a modification in the preliminary plat as a part of that context, or that discussion, that's a condition we have to live with, and we're more than happy to live with that.
And maybe I missed this, but the time frame from a preliminary plat to a final plat is ballparked at what?
Typically, we'll see the final plat come in right away. In this case, you'll see the first phase final plat come in, and then in some amount of time, I would anticipate sometime in 2018, you'll see phase 2 of the preliminary plat come in. So each of those will define specifically what areas are being opened up, what improvements are being done as part of that phase of the development.
Okay, and then maybe as a reminder, then this northeast corner of this plat is in what, do we know what phase?
We anticipate that because Centra has an interest in opening up lots in each, of the 3 different areas, that they would likely, their first phase will likely be something up in here so that they can open up model homes in each, one in the 50-foot, one in the 40-foot, one in the 65-foot would be our anticipation.
This is southwest, by the way.
So instead of here. Yeah, that's not helpful. So then, if I understand it right, the traffic impact study or figuring out this issue, the roundabout issue, we won't have any factual information on that prior to final plats being figured out, really. I mean, although I know what the intention is, your intention is to make it work, right? And our intention is to make it work as well. So I just don't know if we need to try to make that be part of the preliminary.
I don't know that you need to. Again, because this project is located along County Highway 11, the county engineering department does have to approve the plat. And then again, when the final plats come in, we'll be resubmitting those to them as well. They have to
Based off of
approve
that
plats.
additional information, okay.
Yep, so they'll be able
So
to.
there's opportunities.
There are opportunities, and the way we word our comments, or our conditions, is that they have to address the various comments that are still outstanding, that are formalized, and we embed those letters. So there will be, as we continue these discussions, at some point we'll bring it to the city council for preliminary plat consideration. And whatever is the appropriate comment at that time, depending on the stage of the discussion, we'll insert into the conditions.
I personally would like to see, at least a rough drawing of what a roundabout would look like at that intersection. I mean, I suspect that would never get approved, but I could be wrong. But it would be nice if we at least knew if it was a potential option.
From a due diligence standpoint?
Yeah. At least before, we do the final plat.
Okay. And we may have that information out of the corridor study before we're at a final plat on that southeast side. For comparison, the city and the county, about a year and a half ago, did do an intersection study of County Road 11 and 40 where they split off, kind of on the southwest side of town. Actually, it's all in Dahlgren Township. and looked at different options for what could occur there if development in that area continued, along with increased traffic because
Yeah.
of the river crossing in that area. So they did look at both a stoplight, a traffic light in that location, as well as a roundabout. And it was challenging in that location to come up with a configuration for the roundabout, but part of the concern, again, is the way that the traffic's moving and the type of traffic, because there are quite a few gravel trucks in that section as well that would be trying to navigate a roundabout. And I think the preferred solution ended up being the traffic light at that intersection. I can pass along, though, to the city council that you're interested in seeing what a configuration would look like here.
Anything else? Everybody good? Okay, I'm going to make a motion to recommend the approval of the rezoning from agriculture to R2, subject to annexation and the conditions in the staff report. Do we need to number those, or it's just known? All the inclusives, okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Cindy, I have one comment before the next motion. Do we need to make any sort of reference to the Carver County Public Works and the Carver County Water Management Organization, their correspondence?
At this time, you don't, for two reasons. The Carver County WMO comments are not ones you typically receive. We got them as a courtesy this time. They have their own separate permitting process that the developer will have to obtain a permit from them and go through. Related to the Carver County comments, they will be refining, after more discussion, et cetera, their comments. And so before this goes to council and we have a more final idea of what the county's looking like, that's when I would typically insert something related to addressing Carver County's engineering's comments. And ultimately, they have to tell me that we can approve the plat because of the statutory authority that they have in this type of location. So it kind of self-regulates itself, is I guess what I'm saying.
I'll make a motion to recommend the approval of the preliminary plat for the Hartman Communities Development subject to the annexation and the conditions of the staff report.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item number 5, new business. Nothing. Everybody read. And number 6, communications.
Happy to answer any questions you have in the staff reports.
No questions?
No questions? Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.